What's up, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down what Donald Trump said word for word. I'm going to read his quotes to you guys from what he said during his speech about tariffs and what this means for us moving forward. I'm going to talk about some Tesla news, inflationary news, and what's happening with all these different charts. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY in uninvested cash. The offer ends very soon at the end of March. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So, looking at Tesla, we're holding very, very nicely above our 20 EMA at 351. As long as we hold that, we are favoring an imbalance fill towards 362. If we break that, we're looking for 368 as our next target at the 50 EMA. We saw Tesla push very, very nicely alongside the overall markets. We had some good news that came out and also some so-so news that wasn't as great. So the news is coming out that the State Department of the US has halted its plans to buy $400 million worth of armored vehicles from Tesla. This is very, very big news because initially, we were told that they were going to be buying them, but now they're saying that the plan has been halted, at least temporarily. One of the reasons could be because of the fact that there could be a conflict of interest, as Elon Musk is working for Trump, and there's other factors as well. But for now, don't worry about the specific details. Just know that the contract has been on hold, and we'll see how this changes in the future. But for now, don't worry too much about it. Moving forward, I just want to mention that there was other good pieces of news for Tesla. We have companies such as Benchmark who are very, very bullish on Tesla. They have a $475 price target for the company, and they believe that there's going to be a lot of growth with these new catalysts. They believe that Tesla's robotaxi is going to be huge. They're very optimistic about the unsupervised FSD they're going to be launching in Texas, hopefully in June. And they also mentioned that Optimus is going to be very, very good for Tesla. So that's bullish news. That's part of why Tesla was running alongside the whole market pushing despite some bad news. So let's talk about the market. Then I'll talk about Trump in just a minute. I want to call out something, okay? As a reminder, on Wednesday, we had CPI data. As you guys can see, CPI was going up. Inflation's going up for the markets. Okay, not the best of news, not the best of news for the Fed. What did the market do? It dipped and then just bounced like there was no tomorrow. Today, we got PPI data, more inflationary numbers. Everything was above expectations, just like CPI. So inflation's going up. It's on a bit of an uptrend right now. This is not the best of news for the Fed. And instead of dumping, the market continued to rally, even in anticipation of Trump's tariffs. The market continued to hold up and rally. So why is the market doing this? Why is the market rallying on bad news? There's a saying that goes, bad news could be good news and good news could be bad news for the markets. Why is that? Here's the answer, okay? When there's high inflation, fears about tariffs, people start to turn bearish. There was a lot of bearish sentiments today. Wall Street turned very, very bearish. Everyone expected the market to reject and see a very, very big dump. The majority of people were thinking that, and we saw a lot of shorts that piled in. So instead of giving us the rejection, the market makers decided to do the opposite. They pumped the market even during Donald Trump's speech, and that caused the market to really start running. As a result of this short squeeze, we saw the broader markets follow the trend from Nvda to Tesla, and that's part of why we saw this upside, which could continue into tomorrow. So the market is green. If you guys look at Nvda, Apple, Tesla, big tech, the majority of stocks are in the green. But another factor for why this happened was Donald Trump. So I'm going to break down what this guy said, how this affected the markets, and what this means for the economy. So what is Donald Trump saying now? Let's break this down. Donald Trump has called for reciprocal tariffs on many different countries. He ordered recently 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum and 10% tariffs on Chinese goods, with some exceptions depending on if they are trying to import products that are under $800. So that being said, that's some very, very big news. So Donald Trump has been saying he's going to make a big announcement over and over again, and finally the time has come. So what did Donald Trump say? I have a bunch of his quotes from his transcript today. We're going to read what he ended up saying. So let me just read everything to you guys. Donald Trump said that the federal government loses billions of dollars a year in fraud, and that we will consider countries that use the VAT tax system. Whatever they charge us, we will charge them. Those are Trump's words. He said those. Then he said that I have decided to charge a reciprocal tariff. They're charging us vastly more than what we charge them, and we're going to call it a tariff. VAT tax will be viewed as a tariff, and provisions will be made for non-monetary tariffs. So what is Donald Trump saying? He's saying that there's not going to be a fixed tariff rate on all these different countries in a way, excuse me, in a way where he charges like 25% on Europe, 30% on Asia, just for example. They're not necessarily doing that. It's more like they're going to be looking at what these countries charge the US and then charge them back based off that. So if one Asian country like South Korea, just hypothetically, charges the US less, then the tariff the US charges them will be less. If Japan charges a lot more, when it comes to their tariffs on the US, then the US is going to charge them back more. So that's what Donald Trump is saying. It's going to be a reciprocal tariff. That's what he basically started his speech off with. Then he mentioned that, and he said this quote, that we will consider a value added tax system as a tariff, and I'm warning against routing goods through third countries to avoid tariffs. So he's saying that he doesn't want countries to basically take their goods, ship them to like a country that has cheaper tariffs, and then ship them to the US. He's against that. And he says there's going to be consequences if countries do that. He also mentioned that he's going to imminently sign action on the reciprocal tariffs very soon. Then Donald Trump said this. He says, and I quote, "We want to level the playing field on all US companies. The EU has lowered their tariffs to 2.5%, and no tariffs if they manufacture or build products in the US. There will be no tariffs on those." Then he said that he expects some countries to reduce and eliminate their tariffs. So, what does this mean? If India is charging America, just hypothetically, 25% tariffs for a product, they don't want the US to charge 25% tariffs back, right? So they are going to be incentivized to lower the tariffs to like 10%, 15%, lower the tariffs on the US so the US charges them less back. That is what Donald Trump is expecting. He claims that this plan is going to incentivize countries to reduce their tariffs or eliminate them. He also mentioned that they're going to be working very hard to address limitations. By limitations, he could be referring to a lot of things, such as the fact that trade is not perfect. We're not trading exactly the same things we trade with Canada or different countries. So we have to find a way to kind of make that balance. That's what he's trying to say. Then Donald Trump said that there will be over and above steel tariffs. Also, cars and pharmaceuticals will be included. He mentioned that they're going to be looking at chips and pharma. They're also going to be over and above. And if consumers can expect higher prices for the short term, he did say that for the short term, that could be a possibility. He also said that India has more tariffs than nearly any other country, and that Trump is happy to lower the tariffs if the countries want to do that. So that's very, very important to remember. Besides that, Donald Trump has made it very clear that car tariffs are coming very soon. This is going to be over and above steel tariffs, also pharmaceuticals, and then others will be involved, such as like semiconductors. Then Donald Trump said that, and this is what he's quoting, I expect jobs to go up, prices to go up in the short term as well. However, he says that interest rates are going to be coming down. So he made a very, very bold claim. Interest rates should be coming down. He implied he's not really happy with what Jerome Powell and the Fed are doing, and he wants interest rates to start coming down. He also mentioned that his reciprocal plan could start as soon as April 2nd. He started to criticize Canada for not being tough enough and for not being tough on their military. And then he said other things like that. He mentioned that the EU does not treat the US fairly. That's what he claims. He also mentioned that he wants the war in Ukraine to end and he's going to negotiate with both sides. And then moving forward, let's see what else he said. He started to repeat the same things. Then he made a very bold claim. Donald Trump said that Taiwan has taken our ship business away and the US needs to take it back. So he said that. He's saying that Taiwan took the chip business away. They're interfering in his view, that the US has to take action. And he did imply we could be looking for more tariffs on semiconductors and different chips, especially on Taiwan. So he implied that, guys, very important stuff. Then he said that he does not want US steel to be dealt with in Japan. And he just went on about different things like that. Let me see what else there is. One more thing. He was talking about the BRICS nations. So that is an international organization made up of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So those countries, referring to them, he said that if they threaten the US dollar, if they hit the US dollar, that's his exact quote, then he's going to be threatening a 100% tariff on them. So, wow, that's what he's been saying. Very, very bold claim. And then he repeated that interest rates are going to be going down. So that's pretty much what he said, guys. Instead of listening to his like 30, 40-minute speech, I said everything in about, at least his main points, in about 6, 7 minutes. So he made some very, very bold claims about the economy. For now, the market has been pushing despite the threats to increase some tariffs here and there. However, there is the hope that tariffs could be coming back down on certain countries because of the fact that it's a reciprocal tariff and it benefits countries to do that. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what Donald Trump's plan is. I'm not saying tariffs will go down in every way because like the US could start charging more tariffs to particular countries if we're not really charging them already. But then at the same time, if that's the case with the reciprocal tariffs, it does benefit some countries to not charge the US like 25% and to charge them a little bit less so that both sides get that rate, right? That's like exactly what his strategy is so far. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what the effects are, how this affects revenue, and what different countries do. I think that's very, very interesting. And then we'll see what happens at least moving forward. His plan did work to some extent. We did see the EU decrease their tariffs so far, at least according to what he's saying. So we'll see how it goes. I just want to call this out, guys. This is what Donald Trump has been saying. There's lots of sources that talk about how Donald Trump is once again talking about putting tariffs on computer chips, which could be affecting other companies. Also, commodities such as like copper, and then other taxes on the EU. So we'll see what these countries do. This includes like Germany, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam. What will these countries do? Will they decrease tariffs or not? Will they try to change their policies? We'll just have to play a waiting game and see what ends up coming next. A few more things about the markets. For earnings, we have Coinbase, which just announced their earnings. They did relatively well. DraftKings also announced earnings, and we have Moderna tomorrow. But as far as Coinbase goes, we had good looking amounts of trading volume that increased, decent guidance overall. But the problem is that it already ran so hard approaching earnings. So because earnings already were decent, it wasn't really enough to get the share price to continue to run. So now it's kind of chopping around a little bit. And then for SPY, keep in mind that tomorrow we have about 360 plus thousand of these calls expiring. And then we have over 720,000 puts expiring. We have a 2.09 put to call ratio. The majority of positions expiring are in puts. Now, to add on to this, the fear and greed index is currently at neutral. Momentum is also at neutral. It's stuck in the middle thus far. The put to call option ratio is also at fear. There's a lot of fear that's building up right here. That's why we're seeing this going up. It's no surprise they're squeezing shorts because so many people are shorting the markets. And then the VIX is also at neutral, so we'll see how that changes. But with that being said, guys, that's everything for the data and what Trump has been saying. Now let's focus on what these charts are telling us. So as far as Tesla is going, okay, we're looking more bullish, but I do want to remind you guys that I'm going to be very unbiased going into tomorrow because sometimes you never know when it's a Friday. Okay, so hypothetically, if Tesla ends up losing support right here at 351, just hypothetically, if we get bad news, I will be expecting this to dip back down to about 345 and eventually 340 for a bit of a dip. If we're bullish, you want to see it continue to hold up as long as it's above 351. We're favoring a push for about 362 and then eventually 368 if that breaks. In my opinion, the 4 hour is looking bullish as we have this imbalance up here, which could take us up to about 362 to 368. The 4 hour looks more bullish. The daily chart is also looking bullish, favoring 362. So right now, the most likely possibility is that Tesla tries to push for 362, if not 368. But we'll see just to be safe, depending on what the market makers try to play. So watch your levels just to be safe. If Tesla fails at 351, we could be looking for a dip. If we don't fail and we just keep running, we're looking for an attempt to get up to 362. Looking at the overall market, we're looking bullish. So Tesla is in favor of upside. And let's talk about exactly why that is. So looking at SPY to start things off, notice that SPY is breaking structure right over here where this trend line is. We're breaking through this, which is a very, very good sign. If SPY, however, breaks down, let's talk about the hypothetical scenarios, then I'll break down what's more probable. There was once a time, and this is the problem with SPY. Even though we pumped, it's awesome. We did well, but we haven't broken the all-time high yet to really turn bullish. We haven't broken that yet. Okay, so there was once a day when SPY pushed back on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. SPY pumped to about 609. Okay, it was looking very strong. Then the next day it hit 610.8 and then it rejected. Okay, it got a big rejection after hitting the all-time high. So in this case, we're going to be watching, are we about to make a repeat move or are we about to do the opposite? And here's how you're going to be looking at this. Tomorrow, SPY should push to 610.5 to 610.8 near the all-time high. I do expect that. I think we push a little bit higher. Then watch and see, do we get a big rejection? If we reject and lose 608, I think we easily dump to about 605 or below. That's the bearish case if 608 fails us. If we're bullish and we manage to hold above the all-time high in the 610 area, 610.8 to be more precise, so basically 611 or so, as long as we're above that, I think we easily squeeze to about 615. Okay, so I know that this could be a little bit daunting for some people, but just keep in mind when you're day trading, you have to be very, very unbiased. And I think that the most likely possibility is we do try to push higher. I do favor that a bit more because this could be a breakout right here compared to this trend line. This is like our resistance, which we broke out of, forming a flag. So we are favoring the upwards direction. We do look very, very strong. We have lots of momentum, good volume. However, just to be safe, always be unbiased. So tomorrow, we should push to about the 610s. If we get a big rejection, look at 608. If that does not hold us, we dump back down to 605 or below. If we break 610, we're looking for an attempt to get up to about, if the all-time high breaks specifically, if we hold above it for 4 hours, I think we squeeze to 615 plus. 615 is coming. So what do I think is more likely? I'm saying I think I favor upside as the most likely possibility. We look bullish right now as we're breaking structure. And because Donald Trump's pump, if you want to call it the Trump pump, whatever you want to call it, it looks like there's a lot of momentum. It's like a locomotive that has so much momentum that it may continue into the next day. There's a very, very good chance that's going to happen, especially with all of these shorts expiring tomorrow. Okay, so that's very, very likely for SPY. We're most likely going to push higher. We'll see just to be safe. The QQQ is looking more bullish because of the fact that we have an inverse head and shoulders right over here. I also want to add that Nvda is trying to push. We have a gap to fill, so I'll talk about that in a second. If it starts pushing to fill that gap, that's going to drag the market higher most likely. But anyways, going back to the QQQ, here's what's going on. We have a very, very nice looking inverse head and shoulders. There's a left shoulder here, right? We have a perfect looking left shoulder. This is like our head. And this is like our right shoulder, which could be dragging us up for basically the 540s. So keep that in mind. So with the way this is looking, the inverse head and shoulders full measured move will take us up to about the 540 area. And if we end up losing support right here around that, if we end up losing support right over here around this level right here at this 533 area, I'm looking for a move downwards. It's about 530 or below. So this is your bearish case. If we reject near 535, which is unlikely, but if it does happen, look at 531 to 530. If that fails us, I do expect us to dump to about 525. If we hold above 535, we keep holding it tomorrow for the 4-hour close. I think we favor 540 plus or above, right? That's the more likely possibility. We are favoring upside based off the chart right now because of the inverse head and shoulders and because of how strong we look on the 4-hour, but we'll see just to be safe. Watch your levels just to be safe. This chart looks more bullish, but we'll see just to be safe. For the IWM Russell 2000, the Russell, we are looking like we want to push higher for 226.5, which is where we have this imbalance. If we're bearish and we end up losing 223, we turn back down. If we break 226.5, we're looking for an attempt for 228. I do want to mention that what's good about this chart is the fact that we have an inverse head and shoulders, which typically favors upside. So if you look at this chart, we have like a left shoulder, a head, and then a right shoulder right over here, which could be favoring a nice rally just like this. So we look more bullish. This is looking quite good, and we'll see if we go even higher. So it's doing a great job. For now, we favor upside just to be blunt. Let's talk about ES now. We're going to talk about some futures. Looking at ES, guys, we're looking a bit more bullish, but let's break this down. So notice that we had this channel. Notice that we were kind of like rejecting many, many times in this channel. Then we got our first leg up, right? Notice how we broke resistance, we broke structure, and we got a breakout. Then we got another scenario where we're kind of stuck in this range. We managed to break structure right over here, which led to a big push towards, once again, very close to all-time highs. At least we started to break structure. So we're near all-time highs. We're not that far away from them. And we're starting to break structure again, right? We're starting to break through this trend line. Right here, we're starting to break out. So this technically favors upside. But just hypothetically, if you're a bear, you want to see us get back below our 20 EMA. If we end up losing 61 hard to 61.91, if this area right here ends up breaking, we will turn back to bearish and we could be dipping back down. If we're bullish, you want to see it hold above 61.25. As long as that holds, we could bounce and start pushing for 61.68, very close to the previous all-time high up here. And then eventually to all-time highs, we will be going. So in my opinion, I think this is looking a bit more bullish because it looks like we might be looking for, this kind of looks like an inverse head and shoulders, actually. If you look at this, clear, this is like a left shoulder, this is like a head, this is like a right shoulder. This is also like a channel. We're getting a breakout right here. So this move right here is like breaking out. If you guys look at this very clearly, we got a clear breakout. So this technically would be favoring upside very, very well. And this is a break out of our channel. So this is like the next leg up that's coming. So if anything, ES looks a bit more bullish. That's the bottom line. We're favoring, we want to be going back up to these highs as the most likely possibility. NQ is the same setup essentially. It's actually more similar to like the QQQ. Why? There's a left shoulder here. This is our head. This is our right shoulder. We're trying to break out, forming an accumulation. So you have an imbalance all the way up around 22,300. And then we have the all-time high at 22,400. If we hypothetically lose 21,873, we turn back down. Otherwise, this is favoring the upside for 22,400. So keep that in mind. For Bitcoin, we're looking a bit more bullish. If you end up breaking past 97,178, we're looking for an attempt to get up to about 98,905. This is looking a little bit more bullish. It's technically range bound, very choppy, but I think we favor upside a bit more. For Nvda, I'm going to go over the rest of these individual ones and be kind of quicker now. Nvidia is looking a bit more bullish. What I like about this is the fact that we're trying to fill this gap. I'm a little concerned about what Trump said about raising tariffs on ships, but right now there's no sign that they're truly doing it yet. And so far, Nvidia remains very, very resilient with the broader markets. So what I suspect is that as long as we hold above 135, we're favoring the 140s. Okay. If we end up losing 130, if 133 to 130 fails us, I do anticipate we turn back down. Okay, there's good news and bad news coming out for the chip business. A lot of good news when it comes to the new developments, especially with their product. But I just want to say that technically we are favoring upside a bit more. We're making higher lows and we're trying to break structure here. As long as we hold 135, I do anticipate 142 is the most likely possibility. So it does favor upside a bit more. If that's the case, we're going to be looking for an attempt for it to start helping spy in the QQQ push. Nvidia could be the leader for now. For Tesla, we look a bit more bullish as long as you don't lose 351, like I said before. 362 and then 368 look like potential targets. We do look more bullish in my eyes. For Aapl, we look bullish for two reasons. Number one, you could argue that we're holding support well. We have kind of like an inverse head and shoulders like pattern here, which is leading to upside. The bigger reason I'm bullish is because of this. This is like a double or triple bottom, and this is like an accumulation, kind of like a white coffee styled accumulation. So you come down here, we have like our first bottom, second bottom, triple bottom here, made a higher low, and now we're uptrending. So I anticipate it might dip a bit here, then start breaking out. As long as we hold above 240, we're looking for an attempt for 246. If we lose 240, we dip back down to 236. For now, we're favoring that there might be a tiny little dip here before it tries to reclaim 240 and start pushing higher. There is a tough resistance there, but we are favoring upside still on this pattern. So it is looking more bullish and looks like it's going to try to fill this imbalance around 246. So we look a bit more bullish. For the rest of these guys, I'm going to be kind of quick with the rest of these tickers. So Netflix is looking bullish as long as you don't end up losing 1,032. We are favoring 1,050 plus. Great job so far. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but we're doing a good job. By the way, for tomorrow, I didn't mention this, but there's not really much data coming out, just minor manufacturing numbers at 9:15. Everything's very minor, so that's why I'm not really talking as much about data, so just keep that in mind. MSTR is looking like it has a nice accumulation. It's in the middle. We need to break past 327 to really break out higher. It still might dip to about 320 before it tries to bounce, so it's a little bit lackluster. Celsius had a falling wedge right here. We're trying to break out of it. We're looking for 23.09 as our resistance. If that breaks, I think we could be pushing for the 24s. It looks a bit more bullish. For Supermicro, we look a bit more bullish as we're holding support right here. As long as we don't lose 38.5, we're favoring basically 44 or above. So far, we're doing a great job to fill these imbalances, and the 44s could be coming as we look bullish. For Palantir is making higher lows. As long as you don't lose 113, we are favoring 120 plus, so I think we're doing a good job. For Rivian has an inverse head and shoulders like pattern here. There's clearly a left shoulder, a head, and then a right shoulder. As long as we don't end up losing 12.95 and eventually 12.8, as long as we hold that range, this is favoring that's going to slowly uptrend for about 13.8 to get back up to this imbalance. Overall, looking a bit more bullish. For SoFi, we look a bit more bullish. We have a falling wedge like pattern. If we hold above 15.33, we're looking for an attempt for 16.2. As long as we don't end up losing structure right here at this 14.8 area, I think I favor upside. I want to see 15.33 break for confirmation, but this is looking a little bit more bullish. AMD is looking so. I think we're looking for 113 as resistance and support at 109. We'll see if we break out past this resistance right here. It might slowly uptrend to test the trend line for 114, but it's a little bit lackluster. ARM is more bullish, breaking out of this wedge. So long as we don't end up losing 162, we're favoring a push attempt for 168. Coinbase is in the middle. Even though earnings came out, it's dipping a bit, so it might retest this resistance right here around that 288 area. It might come down a bit before it tries to bounce. Still bullish, but there might be a small dip despite earnings. Amazon's looking a bit more bullish. If we break past 231, we're looking for essentially 232. We're trying to form a balance right here. So I think that 231 could be tested. Amazon, as long as we don't end up losing 719, we're looking for an attempt to push for the 730s, looking a bit more bullish. For Microsoft, we look a bit more bullish if we break past 411. We're looking for an attempt to get back up towards 413. If we lose 408, we could turn back down, but I think this is favoring upside. Look for a test of 411 tomorrow. For Google, we look more bullish. As long as we're above 188, we're favoring 190. If we lose 188 and we can't hold above that, we could turn back down to 185. But this is favoring the 190. This is the most likely possibility. GameStop had some good news. It's trying to push back up above its key levels. As long as it does not lose 27.5 tomorrow, I think it favors getting very close to 30. And then for AMC, it might turn down to about 3.7. We'll see if we bounce off that. It might be a small dip. DJT is trying to bounce to about 30.7 or above. I think 31 could be coming. The VIX is looking a bit more bearish, for now. We're at support at 15.1. If it does not hold us, the 14s are easily coming. The 10-year treasury yield and also the dollar are both looking bearish, which tends to be a bullish sign for the markets. Donald Trump said that interest rates are coming down. That could be part of why the 10-year dipped a little bit. So for now, the market looks more bullish. We're favoring the upside. However, despite that, I always remind you guys to be unbiased. Throw your bias away for tomorrow and read the charts. Will the chart look bullish or bearish? We'll see. I am favoring that it's going to be bullish tomorrow. We're going to try to run even more looking at the setups. But just to be safe, make sure you watch your levels. Yes, I do think we're most likely going to run more, but when you actually look at the charts tomorrow, when you actually try to trade, try to be less biased. Don't just try to go all in one direction. Throw bias away and just try to read the chart as your most likely move. I think upside is more favorable, but we'll see just to be safe. So thank you for listening. Watch your levels, guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow before market open. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys so much for your videos. Not your videos, your likes, your attention, everything like that. Thank you for watching my videos, and I'll be back tomorrow before market open. Thank you for listening, and peace out.